What sound do we think of when we say the word 303? It's probably something like this, right? But in my mind, this is what that magical number evokes. Alright, settle down. Before you call the clickbait police on me, or even worse, the outrage police on me, let me just start this video by rectifying the title slightly. You've been using the 303 wrong, but it's not your fault. And that's still very much of a hot take, so let me elaborate further with some bit of a backstory. The 303's original intent was to provide a bass accompaniment to guitarists or keyboardists, possibly in conjunction with a drum machine. It's safe to say that it was very much geared towards composers. Let's keep that in mind. And if you add to that the fact that it was originally released in 1981, so more than 40 years ago, there were no LCDs back then, you get the most head-scratching sequencer ever built. The unit was a flop. Not only was hard to program, it also didn't sound like a real bass at all. So it was discontinued in 1984 after just 3 years on the market. And it was largely forgotten until this happened. Future was a group made up by DJ Pierre and Spanky Smith. They bought a second-hand 303 for just $40 without knowing much about it and were immediately stumped by it. Here's Pierre's recount of this first encounter with the machine.
He said, but I can't figure out how to work this thing. It's still doing this weird, sound, it's like I don't know how to program it. So he's like, maybe you could figure out how to program it, because it didn't come with a book. Instead of trying to program it, I just started turning knobs. I was like, and he's like, well, what you doing? I was like, I'm turning these knobs. He said, keep doing that. I'm like, I'm turning the knobs, and we just sitting there for like 30-40 minutes. I'm just turning knobs, and I like that.
And just like that, a new genre was born. And for years that's what acid was, mostly. A single bar pattern playing in a loop with the producer just moving the knobs around. But as with many genres, the acid craze, reached its apex and then eventually faded away. While the popularity of the 303 never really waned all that much, its sound was so synonymous with that genre that by the time that I started producing, in my head, that's what the 303 does, that's all we can do. And I personally held that belief for a very long time, almost 10 years. That was until an eventful morning when my friend Tim, this is him on SoundCloud, please go check him out, he's very good. Anyway, that day Tim introduced me to the 303 GOAT, Luke Vibert. Well, that day Tim put on a song called Cash and Carry Acid, which I can't really show you, of course, because of copyright reasons, but please open up another tab in your browser and go check it out, because I'm gonna talk about it very soon. Anyway, I could not believe what I was listening to. At first I asked, is that a 303? And he said, yeah, of course. And then I asked, are you sure? And he said, yeah, absolutely, I'm positive. And then finally I asked, surely he must be using some external sequencer to extend the sequence from 1 bar to 2 bars, right? And then he looked at me in the eyes and said, you do know that on the 303 you can actually chain patterns together, right? And I didn't. That's how conditioned my brain was with regards to the 303. I honestly thought that it could only play 1 bar patterns. And it was deeper than that. I really thought that you were supposed to play the 303 with the resonance all the way up, maybe with some distortion to get some maximum squelchiness out of it. That's what, the 303 sound was supposed to be like in my head. And then this just comes along and doesn't even open the filter cutoff for the first couple of bars. It was madness, I say, madness. But it sounded so good, especially when the filter is, closed all the way down, but the envelope is open all the way up. You get that nice, thuddy, woody tone that I love so much. And that's not all. The expert use of the accent, the slides, the up and down octaves, just complemented the beat so well, and it just made it groove so much harder. I couldn't keep still. This precision and meticulousness is not an accident. If you listen to his other songs like Funky Acid Stuff, Freak Time Baby, I Love Acid, the 303 programming is immaculate and it features the same tasteful placing of slides, accents and sound design. This could only mean one thing, in my opinion. Unlike earlier acid house, in which you can make the case that, most of the sounds that we heard are the products of, random button pushing and, happy accidents, there is clear intentionality behind all of these patterns. I guess he was actually able to find a manual, I don't know. Say that I have a beat that goes like this. This is a pretty complex chord progression, something that on a real bass I would accompany with something like this. Great job. Thanks. Now, if we transcribe it on a piano roll, this is what it would look like. It sounds okay, but now it gets real fun. We get to add all the notes and the slides that I couldn't possibly play on bass, either because I'm bad at it or because they're physically impossible. I'm using ABL3 as a 303 emulation, and keep in mind that in order to make a slide, you can just drag the previous note over the next one, and to make an accent, you set the velocity to 127 while keeping the rest of the notes at a lower velocity. And I don't know about you, but I found this stuff super groovy, super exciting, and we haven't even started to mess around with the knobs, but I can now hear a sound. And no, it's not the dulcet tones of a 303 square wave. No, it's the sound of fingers clicking on a keyboard.
Ah, you're making all of this on a computer. You're not even using the sequencer, which is the best part of a 303. Good luck making the pattern on a real 303, you dumb.
And yes, I know, this is where my argument almost falls apart. If you want to keep it strictly hardware using an old 303, making a multi-bar pattern which follows both the chord progression and also complements the drum rhythm very well, yeah, it's hard. I know that stuff will make you want to quit after 3 minutes. I'm very familiar with the 303 sequencer. It's awful. It's much easier to, press random notes and see what it, sounds like. And yeah, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. Good news is 2024 and there are plenty of alternatives on the market. Both hardware, if you want to go for like a Cyclone or a Donner B1, they both have much better sequencers, and even clones like the TB3 and the TD3, they all come with software that you can, use mouse and keyboard to actually write patterns and store them into your machine. Or even better, you could just use your DAW to sequence MIDI notes via USB or via MIDI, just like I've been doing in this video. And I'm gonna tell you a little secret right now. It's not the actual sequencer that makes the difference. It's the way the synth actually reacts to the accent and slide commands that gives the 303 that iconic sound. If you're still not convinced, just go and watch any tutorials on how to use the old sequencer in a non-random way. I've made a video myself, but to be honest, Captain Picant's is much better, so yeah, shout out to Captain Picant. I'll make sure I post a link somewhere in the comments. Look, in the end, do I really think there's a wrong way and a right way to use the 303? Of course not. That was just to lure you in, you silly. This is YouTube, and we all have an attention span of a 3 days cincilla at this point. If you want to input random notes and turn the resonance all the way up on a 1-bar pattern loop and maybe turn on some distortion, by all means, go for it. It's a lot of fun and I've done it myself plenty of times. I guess I just wanted to remind people that with a bit of attention and patience, in my opinion, the 303 is still the best bass synth in the world. At least when it sounds like this. that's it for today. If you enjoyed this type of essay style video, please leave a like and some comments in the description box below, so that YouTube doesn't, kill it straight away, because it's a bit different from what I usually do and all the bull. Also, I really want to know your opinion on how to use the 303 in general, but please be kind, because I thought I presented a nuanced argument for myself. After all, it's just a synth, yeah? Anyway, if you enjoyed this stupid ass rant that I went on for 20 minutes, please like and subscribe, and also please go to my bigomami.com website, where you can find some cool samples, and I love you very much, and yeah, I'll see you next time, yeah? Bye.